Well, hello there. My name is HW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. This is a first look at the Kemper Profiler Stage. I came over to British Audio the moment they got these in stock, the moment they were released, and here we are. I want to show you. It's a really cool unit. I've used it for just a couple minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes before doing this video, but already there's some things that are a little different in the layout. I just want to jump right in and show you what's different if you're a Kemper rack or profile user, a profiler head user or a rack user, what you're going to find different in here. Let's jump down to the Kemper. First of all, you're looking at this Tweed Twin Low B4 profile from Tone Junkie. I'm playing that gold Strat that you saw a minute ago, and it sounds like this. Sounds beautiful. Okay, now first things first. When you turn this unit on, it automatically turns on when you plug it in, okay? We have a power button here that's used to turn the unit off. When I actually turn it off, I actually have to hold this down until it goes full, because if I remove my finger, it actually exits shut down. So you have to, it's a long press for turning the unit off. Over here we have browse and performance mode. And right here, I'm in browse mode. Now I'm in performance mode. I haven't made any performances here. This is the default first performance that comes in on the Kemper. And then from there, if I hold down both of them, I instantly enter profile mode, which is very cool because there was some concern that maybe there wasn't profiling mode on this unit, and there absolutely is. I'm going to go ahead and hit this. It's sort of a back button now, and it sort of has the functionality of an exit button or maybe an undo button. I'm back in Profiler. I can go back to Browse. It brought me back to Performance mode. Here we go. Now I'm back in Browse mode here, and here we go. Tone Junkie, Tweed Twin. Now, let's say you want to edit these, and we want to go, Let's say I want a little more high-end, a little more treble, a little more presence. I can still roll it up here, but you'll notice there's actually no EQ button over here. We just have amplifier and cabinet. If you want to find these settings in the profile, they've sort of nestled them away in the amplifier menu, and now you'll notice there's 4 pages. And here's all my normal amplifier stuff. You see all the normal sort of Tone Junkie edits with a little bit of compression, a little bit of clarity and stuff. And a decibel up on the volume, and then boom, we have our EQ. So our EQ is now nestled under the amplifier settings here. It's now one of the pages in the amp module. That's very interesting. I wonder if profiles are going to easily move in and out of Kemper Stage and retain those. I imagine they will. In terms of other buttons here, you'll notice there were some questions about this. Pedals. What does pedals do? Well, let's click pedals. This is basically a quick way to edit any of the morphing pedals, the volume pedals, or any of that type of thing that you were using before on the Kemper. Previously, you would have found those under rig, I believe. Yeah, I believe you would have found them under rig, or maybe they were under system. I can't remember off the top of my head. Our store button is still right here, and it works the same way. I can still store this, store as. I can save it as a new profile, and I'll go ahead and store that, and boom, store as. So I've made another one with my edits here. You see your signal chain over here, and one thing I'm noticing that you don't have is the stomp button, a button that sort of lets you highlight all of these stomps at once, and a button that lets you highlight all of these effects at once. So that means we have to manually turn on and off these effects. We can't defeat all of them at once. Why was that useful? Well, a common workflow used to be that you would turn off all stomps or turn off all effects if you wanted it to be dry. You could have, two things come on at once. Another use for that was that it would be common to maybe lock all your stomps, lock all your effects when you were happy, and then actually browse through profiles with different amps. We can't do that anymore, but what we can do is actually just lock. We can actually highlight, we can hold down stack, and we can begin changing the stack while we have these effects and these stomps intact. You would be editing this profile, but you could always save it as a different profile. And that's another way to sort of just achieve the same thing if you want to lock all your effects and just be scrolling through different amplifiers and cabinets, different stack sections basically. Okay, the real star of the show here, if you get one of these, is that not only does it look awesome, not only does it look super cool, but we have a complete new beta version of the software here, and it means this. Hold down this effect, and what do you see here? I'm in my compressor, right? Actually, let's not change the compressor. Let's change this. Let's change this X stop. So here we go. I've held down my X stop. Now, when I turn browse mode, oh my, what is this? This is the new 7.0. This actually has OS 7.0 on it, and it looks really cool. In fact, here's how you navigate this. If you just use the browse knob, you're focused here on this window. This window, by the way, I want to point this out. This is touch sensitive now. This button is touch sensitive, and you can click it in. So there's a way you can actually oh, why'd you think I just discovered something? No, I'm sorry. I don't know what I just did there. You can actually push browse here. Sorry, let me get this X back up. As soon as I touch this, it brings me to here. As soon as I touch it, I haven't turned the knob, but it appears to be touch sensitive to me. So it knows that I'm touching it, or it sends some sort of movement there. I can press the back button, I'm back here. Let me try it again. Just when I touch it, it's actually turning on. So these are like touch sensitive knobs somehow. And I actually can select all my effects just like I used to here. I can scroll through a large list of effects. Now you're going to be saying, HW, what is this section over here and this section over here? Well, I have this button that allows me to choose what I want this type knob to do. So if I'm in this edit window, and I can actually scroll through, and it'll change from distortions. If I keep going up, it'll eventually become wahs. If I keep going down, I can scroll basically through everything. But if I want to use the type function, I can, within choruses, begin to scroll at sort of another level, where I'm beginning to scroll through different, like see here, phaser. Now I can get to phaser vibe, phaser one way, phaser flanger. But actually now we've gone to flanger. The other way to do it is to toggle over, and I can actually just select, no, I'm interested in reverbs only. What type of reverb? I'll come over and I'll go, I just want to focus on spring reverbs, that algorithm. And then from there I can choose which spring reverb I'd like to have. Or I can just go ahead and scroll right up and get right into delays, or I can scroll down, go right to reverbs, and find all of them there. So whether you'd like to use the Kemper sort of how you're used to, have that browse knob and just turn it a bunch to get through all of your presets, you can do that, or you can utilize the type knob and sort of get to these multi-levels where you choose the type of effect you want and then get right into the rest of it. There are some people may know, okay, here's the lock button. That's all normal. The morph button, it used to be sort of tucked away. Now we have a morph button here. That's very logical. Rig volume is the thing you're noticing that's missing. This is now our master volume. There used to be a rig volume here. Presence, bass, middle, treble, that all got tucked under amplifier. So what happened to rig volume? You will notice that that's actually not under amplifier anymore. Nothing there. It's actually under the rig section. So if you go under the rig section, whoops, I just favorited this because I double-clicked rig. But if you go under the rig section, rig volume, right here, you can up or down the rig volume, increase it or lower it. And that's a very useful feature. It's a logical place to put it too. System seems to have everything that we just expect there. I think I saw something earlier in system that I didn't recognize being there, but I can't off the top of my head remember what it was. A lot of people are asking, can we reassign this master volume to be something else? The answer to that is yes. You can go here in the output, and you can come right here. You can unlink or relink this to function as anything. So right now I have it functioning as a monitor out only and a headphone out. I can unlink it there. I can make it work here. I can make it the main link out. I can link basically any volume I want to this master volume knob, and any ratio. So if I want my monitor higher, I can increase the monitor to say 8.5. Then I can untoggle it, come in here, main link out. I can bring that down to, let's say 6. Then I can relink them, and as I move up and down, my monitor and my master maintain that sort of ratio. So that's really useful, I think. That was on the old unit, it's just something I wanted to point out. If you look at the back of this unit, which I'm not showing you right now, you'll notice there's no ground lifts. So where did those go? Well, they're actually controllable through the UI now, and you can scroll over and find the ground lifts. Boom. Over here, you have all these different lifts here. Now, here's 2 things I want to point out when you're actually using the Kemper and using the Kemper Stage in a workflow scenario. Not only does it look uber cool with all these backlit buttons, and I'm going to have to take a low lit picture because this thing is 150% more visible than the remote in a dark stage. This is just, you can see everything. But one thing I wanted to point out, you now are going to have to utilize multiple fingers to sort of assign these effects, this 1, 2, 3, and 4. And by the way, these are way more visible. Just look at that. You can see these so much better. I don't know if it's really coming up on camera, but there's, where I am, it's so much more lit up than the Kemper Profiler remote. One thing is, imagine bending down, holding down compressor and wanting to assign it here. If you were to put your foot here, I mean, you're bending down to try to lift weight off one foot, you might fall over. So you actually can assign buttons through the basically through rig right here. You can come over here and actually assign these buttons, and you can highlight this one. Oh, I'm sorry, I did this wrong. You can come through here and you can, in rig, sorry, and you can assign, you know, buttons like this. Actually, oh, press store to auto assign. So listen, this is my point. If you try to hold this down with one finger and lift your foot up and put it here, you might fall over on a stage with a guitar on you. Imagine holding a heavy Les Paul or something. You know, you're going to be doing some yoga up there. So this is now going to become the preferred way to sort of assign this stuff. And that is a good, that may be good or bad for people who are quickly used to working with a Kemper on their desk. They may actually find this slightly cumbersome if you want to use this as a desk unit. It's meant to be a floor unit, and I only say that because I know how many people are selling their Profiler remotes and heads right now and basically trying to buy one of these as their main unit. I personally am going to leave a Kemper head on my desk. I'm going to leave a Kemper head in my room for tips and tricks videos and teaching how to use the Kemper. And then I'm going to use this for live application. I will probably never take this out of the box or out of my bag when I'm home. And that brings me to another point. We currently don't have a bag. So this week, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry this thing. I'm going to put it on a pedal board and do something like that. But 2 notes I'll make. It's actually fairly light. It's about 10 pounds. The Profiler remote is over 5 pounds, which means this unit right here is only adding about 4 pounds onto your weight if you were to take this over just taking a remote. So if you were to take this and a whole nother Kemper, you could run this and another Kemper together. How would you do that? Well, that's one feature I'm super excited about for this unit. If you look on the Tone Junkie Instagram channel, I'm sorry, the YouTube channel, there's some clips on Instagram most likely, but if you look on the YouTube channel, you will notice that there is a video entitled 2 Kempers, 1 remote. And this unit for me really makes that come alive, because now if you go into System and you scroll over, for this you'll want to turn on constant latency, but we're not going to do that right now. Right here, UI to MIDI. In the past, you've been able to use UI to MIDI, and that's where if I turn on a compressor, I turn on an effect right here, Kemper will actually author the appropriate MIDI command that tells another Kemper to do the same command to itself. So why that's useful is that you can still take 2 heads or a toaster or whatever, and you can use one remote, run into a Kemper, turn on UI to MIDI, and then you're able to send duplicate MIDI commands from one Kemper to another. So you can actually hook up 2 Kempers and run sort of what people call stereo Kempers. Obviously it's a stereo unit with stereo effects, but currently you cannot run two profiles. So with two Kempers, a lot of people like to run like an AC30 to one side, or a Vox, or I'm sorry, a Deluxe, like a Fender Deluxe to the other side. Give themselves two different amps left and right. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not here to pass judgment on that. But that UI to MIDI makes it possible to use one remote and multiple Kempers. Now, some people have run into a couple glitches with it. I've talked to Christoph about this. He says this is basically a beta feature within the full release. So if you run into a glitch, I mean, report it to Kemper. They can always fix things. The number of instances where two profilers could come out of sync with each other or in sync is some enormous magnitude of many, many numbers, if you think about what it's actually doing there. So just report it to Kemper. It's not, I've run into, like one time I got it to kind of glitch or something, but other than that, it's been fine, and who knows why that was. I've never used it live, but I've used it a bunch at my house. But now with this unit, you'll be able to take this unit with you, and you'll be able to turn on UI to MIDI, send MIDI to the same toaster that I'm carrying now, and like I said, right now I'm carrying a profiler and a remote. But now I can carry, like I was carrying a profiler head and a remote. But now I can carry this unit for when I just want the same amp sound on both sides and run all my stereo effects, all my stuff. And then with the profiler head, I can bring that along with this, and I can control two Kempers at once. And with this, and all I've done is added 4 pounds to my rig, because this thing only weighs about 4.5 pounds more than a remote. It's not much larger than a Helix. It's really a very manageable size, and it's very comfortable. It's super cool. The only other thing I'll point out is there's actually some added live flexibility here, in that we now have two sends and returns for loops, which means you can put one loop in the front, one loop in the back. So if you want to use this profile right here, and this is the Tweed Twin Low B4, it sounds like this. Now, let's say I want to add just a tube screamer or something. I can easily do that. Now, when I start using this UI down here, you're going to notice that the Kemper switches to kind of a live mode. I believe it thinks I'm, far away from this thing, not using my hand. Some people might find that annoying. Currently, when I utilize one of these buttons, it switches to the performance sort of, not performance, but the remote sort of look. And so now I can see what I have assigned in different places. I can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now my effect sounds like this. Now there's a little noise on this Strat because there are some lights in here. I'm getting some interference. You can hear a little hiss sometimes. It's not the Kemper or the profile. It's just the lights in here. It's a little challenging, but it goes back here. Now, if I want to get back here, I can see my whole setup. So some people may find this take a little bit to get used to, but it is really nice. I mean, it's useful, super useful. You see, if I just touch that browse knob, I go back here to see where I'm at. It's very sensitive. It's just a touch on the top. It's very interesting that they chose to do that. I mean, it's definitely just like the Helix. You touch it and there you go. That was not a feature I think we were expecting to have. These other ones don't activate anything. Maybe they do in other modes. I mean, very impressive, very interesting. But again, as I'm here, if I want to sort of assign, if I want to activate a patch, it takes me, if I want to activate an effect, it takes me into sort of a live view, we'll call it. This is the performance, I'm sorry, or the live sort of view from the remote. And so here I can do what I need. Now, why is that important? Because now when I bend down, I have to press sort of back to see all this stuff and adjust everything. Now, I don't know if there's a setting inside to make that function that way or not function that way. I'm really just not sure. I'd have to dig into this unit more. But I don't see it. Parallel path, lock volume pedal, rig tags, rig spillover, browse snapshot. No, I don't see it. So it's interesting. It's actually pretty useful because if I come down here, I want to see what I have on. And how else would we get back to this remote? And a lot of people might be using a single rig in live, in performances, and I don't mean in performance mode, but I mean while they're actually performing on a stage, they might use a single rig, and this is the view you would want. I'd want to see what's on here. Now, if I jump over to performance mode, that's not as important to me. Now, I've got, here's like a JCM 800 type of thing. Now, I can go over, and it's going to go back as soon as I utilize that sort of, anything down here sort of below on what I'll call like the live performance or remote half of the unit, it switches back here, and I of course have, I've got all those sounds, right? It's how it's designed, and I kind of like it. Now, I don't know if all Kempers, I guess they ship with this. Here's examples. It's an example performance. You got Michael Britt, you got Andy at the Amp Factory. Good sounding profile. I'm going to go back to Tone Junkie over here in browse mode. And, hey, typical Tone Junkie stuff, right? I've been HW. Thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV.